So WandaVision Series 1, and probably the only series, has now wrapped up. And I just wanted to go through a few of the kind of key aspects of the show, bits that were cool, bits I thought that weren't so cool, and then just rampant speculation about everything else because that's always fun. So the way we'll do this is we'll just look at the first couple of episodes, the middle episodes, and then the final episodes. That's a very long way of me just saying we're going to go in chronological order here of everything that happened, all the key points that happened, and what I thought of them. So, starting at the beginning, the first three episodes where it's purely just sitcom town. This was probably the slowest possible burn for the start of what is essentially a new area for Marvel. The fact that they decided to go with probably the most out there left field version of a TV show was, in a way, quite brave. And maybe not recommended. If it had turned out that this didn't work out well, people would have been like, well, yeah, obviously this wasn't going to work out well because this is such a weird idea to start with. So yeah, but these first three episodes where it's pure sitcom and it's 20-minute episodes of not really a lot happening, where there's only really kind of hints at kind of like the bigger picture, and at times only for like, a minute or two out of 20 minutes of otherwise fairly kind of mundane sitcom stuff. Like, apart from people who either watch these shows before, these types of sitcoms that WandaVision was based off of, or could just appreciate the nostalgia aspect of it. If you're not into either of those things, these episodes were very slow to get through. And I think a lot of people might have been in the camp that I was in, which is not really massively bothered about the sitcom structure or setting. We were watching because we had a feeling that there was more to this. If you had watched the trailers or even had ambient knowledge of what was going on with the MCU, you probably felt that, okay, this isn't just a straight up sitcom, there is other stuff happening here, they're just keeping it under wraps for now. With the first two episodes especially, it was almost pure sitcom stuff, with a final scene or a hint or a single moment where it was like, okay, that's the kind of curtain slipping and showing, what's actually happening here. So we had it in the first episode with Mr. Hart choking and Vision helping him out, and there being a weird, very unsettling scene of Mrs. Hart kind of crying and pleading and laughing at the same time to stop all of this, which is probably a hint as to how messed up the series was going to get. And also the reveal of a hand, or sort of the reveal of someone watching the show outside of the show, and kind of pointing to how meta it was going to get. And in the second episode, we had the infamous beekeeper who was never seen again. They apparently just got wheeled out of reality and no one ever bothered to check up on him, as well as a sword-branded toy helicopter, which we later found out was a drone. And I had a feeling that this was probably the way they were going to go. I had a feeling it was going to be some kind of slow boil initially, and then at some point in the series, they would reveal exactly what was going on, and show that, there was some kind of facade and that there was a bigger plot going on. I'm glad it only took 3 episodes. If this was the kind of thing where they had some kind of facade going on for the majority of the series, and then there was only kind of like the big reveals towards, in the final few episodes, I probably would have not been mad, but just disappointed, So I'm glad that by the end of episode 3, we saw Geraldine wasn't who she said she was, that she had knowledge of events that had occurred outside of the sitcom. She knew about Ultron, about Wanda's past, she knew about Pietro dying, and then she got ejected from the sitcom, and we got to see the glimpse like, okay, cool, so this is some kind of bubble world that Wanda seems to be in control of, or is at least actively participating in, and knows it's a bubble world, like she's not under any kind of control as far as we know. So those were the first 3 episodes. I thought they were, again, a slow burn, but I think the positive of it being a slow burn is that it kind of gave us a chance to settle in and kind of lended more investment and context to the viewers. MCU films historically have been normally about massive scope and scale. So to bring this down to a level of this is about Wanda and her trying to live in some kind of false reality, and it's mostly about her, I thought was a good thing. And it meant that all the actions that happened in the following episodes had more impact because we had the full context and investment for it. That brings us to the middle episodes, the episodes focusing more on Monica and Darcy, Sword, Agent, Wu, and kind of just showing us what is essentially a post-Avengers Endgame world, showing us what happened when the second snap happened, when people came back from having been dusted before, and seeing that opening shot of Monica being reassembled after being dusted, seeing that it was 5 years later. That whole dramatic version of people coming back was very harrowing compared to how it was shown in Spider-Man Far From Home, which took a more comedic angle, which was, necessary for that film. But I thought it was super cool seeing everyone being brought back from the snap, seeing the actual panic and confusion and reality of what would probably happen if that kind of weird scenario ever actually existed. So it was really cool to see that, and then seeing the kind of fallout from it, seeing people's attitudes and perceptions towards things in a post-Snap world and in a post-Endgame world was an angle that I never thought that the show would go in, because I knew nothing about the show, I think, because we knew nothing about the show. When we saw more external aspects of the world, I think that's why people started to go a bit nuts with the theories about what was going to happen with the show, because we were like seeing this as well. It can be about anything at this point, because we've got such a wide scope here. So seeing the unsnap was cool. Seeing the reveal of Sword as a new government agency was cool. Getting Darcy and Jimmy Woo in was cool as well. I didn't realize that they had been shown in the second trailer for WandaVision, so I only saw the first trailer, and for some reason I never saw the second trailer, and I'm really glad I didn't, because the second trailer just shows not everything, but it just gives it probably gives you more information than is needed. And it was a nice surprise seeing these characters return. Like, these weren't characters who I was absolutely pining for to ever see again, but it's nice to see them, and it's nice to have that kind of continuity within the wider cinematic universe. So it was cool to have them involved, and I thought they all played their parts really well. The only thing, so these middle episodes I thought were cool. I thought it was really interesting seeing how the Hex came about, how Sword got involved, how Monica got involved, how Darcy and Jimmy all got involved by the time we kind of returned to the sitcom itself. The only thing I had any kind of issue with was the mention of an aerospace engineer, and it's going to be really petty of me. This aerospace engineer, I'm pretty certain, gets mentioned specifically like 2 or 3 times by Monica, and it's like, yeah, I've got this person who's an aerospace engineer, and they're going to hook me up, and they're going to like help me out and all this kind of stuff. And I tried not to fall into the theories camp too much, but I was like, come on, they're saying aerospace engineer quite a lot here. It must be, someone significant. And then looking online, people are just like, oh, it's got to be Reed Richards, right? It's got to be, he's the main guy who's an aerospace engineer. We know that they're going to be introducing Fantastic Four at some point. Like, come on, it's got to be him. And it never happened. And I don't know, it just felt like a weird thing to kind of highlight in dialogue and then not really have that kind of level of payoff. Instead, we got an army person, apparently. I honestly don't even remember the person's name. I just remember she helps deliver this kind of lunar rover thing that's meant to be a big deal and help Monica get back into the Hex, and it gets destroyed or turned into a pickup truck in like 2 seconds. And it's like, that was also build up for really nothing. So apart from that one little hiccup, I thought that these middle episodes were pretty cool. And then in these kind of final 3 episodes, these ending episodes, it's loads of revelations. It's Monica having powers, apparently. I never read the comics. I have no idea what her powers are meant to be. In the show, they don't even really kind of go into detail about it. She can see, she seems to be able to see energy, sense energy. She's able to absorb energy and, change the physical makeup of her body somehow. So that's cool. The revelations of Agnes as being a witch. Oh, one thing I did forget to mention from what I would consider the middle episodes was the introduction of fake Pietro, Evan Peters as a fake Pietro, which instantly led to non-stop rampant speculation about this being some kind of multiverse crossover thing. The guy who played Quicksilver in a Fox franchise, and having him now play the same character, the same origin of a character in a different universe, in a different cinematic universe, which I thought was super incredible. So his introduction, he got very Ace Ventura in his episodes, which I kind of liked. It was kind of cool to have that energy compared to Vision, who's normally quite conservative, and Wanda, who's just tried to keep the show going, and then to have Evan Peters as Quicksilver or as Pietro come in, be a mini Ace Ventura, and just causing not mayhem, but adding a lot more of a ecstatic energy to the show. I thought was really cool for the episodes he was in. But yeah, and then we go into the ending episodes, and we get the reveal of Agnes as a witch. We get the reveal of Monica's powers. We get the reveal that Wanda had powers before she was experimented on with the Mind Stone. And it really takes it up a notch in terms of the scope and scale of the show. And I know some people were kind of down on the idea of the show ending with kind of like a classic Marvel punch up with, with superpowered characters. But I'd say the show kind of earns by the end, because there wasn't really any kind of showdown before this. You had 8 episodes where there wasn't really any kind of fighting or combat or any kind of mass showing of powers. So I think if you have 1 episode in an entire series having it, that's not the biggest thing in the world. Oh, and the other big reveal is that Vision in the Hex isn't actually Vision. Everyone thought that Wanda was basically puppeting his corpse around Westview, but it turns out he's a pure creation of hers, and that the real Vision has been reconstructed and was turned into quotation marks White Vision by S.W.O.R.D. and was basically an evil version of Vision told to kill real Vision, or told to kill Hex Vision. It's confusing, I don't know. So a lot happens in these final 3 episodes. I loved seeing the history of Wanda. I loved the reveal, the kind of approach that it took to Agnes's obsession with her. It wasn't a case of her saying, I'm an evil witch and I want to get rid of other witches, or this is my place and I don't want any other witches in my place. It was a case of, this Wanda person is extremely powerful. I want to know how, because I want to become more powerful. I know it's not the most complex villain motivation, but it was nice that it wasn't simply, I'm evil, I kill other witches. It was just, wow, this person's powerful, I want to be that powerful, let me find out how. And then going through all those key events from Wanda's life and showing all her trauma was, again, fascinating, and I loved seeing it, apart from the fact that it was all trauma. And then we have the final episode, and it's Wanda versus Agnes, it's Vision versus Vision, it's children versus the military, apparently. So that was a thing. And I am in the camp of I was satisfied with the ending. I know some people were hoping for one kind of final big reveal, one kind of final big tie-in or shocker or twist or cameo or something like that. But I think at this point it probably would have been a bit too much, and it probably would have been a bit too much to ask of this series at this point, and would have taken away a bit from the core of the story, which is, this is a story about Wanda processing trauma. It is about her coming to terms with her grief and the things that have happened to her and kind of accepting them in a way. So if all of that was kind of swept aside for, here's Doctor Strange, or here's Reed Richards, or here's the Avengers coming to help save the day or something, I think that would have only taken away from what was essentially what started off as a very small core story. But we do get hints of it in the final post-credits scene. We do see Wanda astral projecting, it seems, and a big deal has been made online of the fact that Doctor Strange could only astral projected when in his sleep or unconscious, and was able to do that, whereas Wanda seems to be astral projecting whilst going about her day, which is interesting. And a cool little note was that they actually played a snippet of the Doctor Strange theme while showing the Scarlet Witch, reading from the Darkholm, I think it's called. So I think that pretty much confirms that this is astral projecting. This is very similar to what Doctor Strange did, and that this does tie into the Doctor Strange sequel, The Multiverse of Madness. So seeing how that comes together and seeing what role Wanda will play in it, I think is going to be really cool to see, and I can't wait to see if she does play a villain, if she plays a hero, if she plays both sides, if she's tricking everyone, but I can't wait to see it. And I guess the only kind of outstanding question I had was, what the hell happened to White Vision? And why didn't normal Vision tell Wanda about Hex Vision and say, hey, so that guy that I am, that you created to replace the real guy, that real guy is real now and he has memories and he exists, you can be with him. But none of that happened. It was just goodbye, so long, don't worry about the fact that a real version of me is now flying around in the real world. So if Wanda's going to be playing a part in Doctor Strange 2, I'm trying to think where White Vision is going to come to, what part he'll play. But it'll be cool. Wanda and Vision are two characters I always really liked, and I feel like they didn't really get enough screen time in the main films, which is understandable because by the end the films were filled with 40 main characters, so not everyone can have their moment to shine. But I am really glad that they got their chance to shine in this series, and I think they did an excellent job. And it just makes me more excited to see what they do in future movies and potentially TV shows, and whether there will be cameos from these characters in Falcon and the Winter Soldier or Loki or whatever else comes up. So yeah, I can't wait. And I guess the only worry I kind of have now is that this is the start of, the MCU dedicated streaming TV shows. And it has started so strong with such a unique concept and a unique story, and one that a lot of other properties couldn't really tell. This whole idea of shaping reality and these kinds of characters, it's very unique to Marvel and the set of characters it currently has. So my concern is that in 2 weeks we're going to get Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I'm worried that it's just going to be a very straightforward, by the numbers action series. And there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe it's the kind of thing that a lot of Marvel fans will be waiting for after the kind of newness and oddities of WandaVision. So maybe there's a whole audience waiting for a more action-oriented Marvel TV series with familiar characters, which, I'm also kind of partial to that audience. But I do worry that after how creative WandaVision was, that Falcon and the Winter Soldier will be a straightforward, here's two good guys, they're chasing after a bad guy, and these two good guys didn't like each other before, but now they have to work together. One's got wings, one's got one arm and a metal arm, and they're bros now or something. I don't know. It just feels like it's going to feel really, like, unless they have some kind of ace up their sleeve with how this series is going to pan out, I feel it's going to feel a bit flat compared to how WandaVision's been received. But I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I'm still going to watch it. And yeah, that's kind of it. That's WandaVision. That was series 1. That was the only series that they're doing for the show as far as we know. I thought it was excellent, and I look forward to see what Marvel continues to do.